how you guys got started and what were the steps that you took to start Estrohaze? Because a lot of us are realizing that we have to be involved in this industry. A lot of us have suffered from it because of arrests and things like that and fines. So now we should be able to actually profit from it, right? And a lot of people are feeling like we're getting locked out of this industry. So let's talk about the steps that you took to get Estrohaze started.
So, as Stacey said, myself, Safan, and our third co-founder, Kaylee, all work together at Black Enterprise. We started actually with a podcast. We all live in Bed-Stuy. After work, we would go over to Savan's house because she was the closest off the train. We would roll up a joint and we would decompress about the workday. Really simple, straightforward. And of course,
and you never invited me to any of
Stacey had we known, but now we do. But honestly, what turned into these kind of like just therapy, sessions. Now you know that we self-medicate on cannabis and things you learn. We thought we were having very enlightening conversations. At best, they were very funny conversations. So we decided to press record and we started our podcast. We're just trying to grow, which we still have. I'm going to just fast forward a little bit because we had our podcast. We started going to industry events local here in the city because we wanted to provide more than just BS and just laughing and decompressing. We actually wanted to provide valuable information for other people who wanted to get into the industry, especially if you live in here in New York. And at one of those events, we met Patrick Rea, who is the CEO of Canopy Boulder. Canopy Boulder is a seed stage accelerator in Colorado that gives investments for an equity stake in companies that don't touch the plant. So we met Patrick. A whole year goes by because we met him. We got this event. It was like, oh, that's really cool for someone, not necessarily us. And then a year passes and we got a lot more serious about exiting out of the company, and we started a 90-day career change challenge. So, and I know Safan will say it, I mean, the biggest thing was making a plan to get out. And honestly, our get out plan was 3 individual plans. Kaylee was working on something else. I was trying to figure out where Steven Spielberg was so I could, get in a movie. Safan is working on books and novels and doing all this amazing writing. But we ended up being on Twitter, again, it's a year later, and we see that the submissions for Canopy Boulder are closing, and we just took a chance. We said, you know what? We've been at Black Enterprise enough to know what a pitch deck was and how to pitch a company, so we figured, we can figure this out. And long story short, we did. We put together a package, did all the requirements. We had to record a pitch video in literally a matter of days.
Yeah, we
put this together.
Hit send at midnight. At the deadline is when we hit send. Like, okay, it was that week. It was like, yeah, we do a bust at that time. We said we weren't going to go through Q1. That was our thing. Q1 was not going to see us still in our same careers, doing our same exact thing. I mean, in fact, we didn't exactly know how, but we knew that Q1 was the end.
Yeah. And we applied to the accelerator. We start getting calls, we start getting emails. Safan was very, very optimistic. Safan was like, yo, I read it back, y'all. This is awesome. I think we're going to get it. Me and Kayla were like, I mean, if anything, we'll have a clear plan about what we should be doing next. We ended up getting into the accelerator.
And had to move to Colorado.
Had to move to Colorado in 2 weeks.
Wow. So we quit. Let me tell this part. Okay. So yeah, we got into the accelerator. It was like, yeah, you guys are in, but you got to move to Boulder, Colorado in 2 weeks. Wow, mind you, we're still working at Black Enterprise. So we go and tell our bosses.
That's why you quit.
Girl. So we go in and tell our bosses, we're like, hey, we just got to this accelerator, really exciting. We hope you can still work with us. Long story short, it didn't work out. We tried to resign. So we're like, we're going to resign. We're going to move forward in life. And then they fired us and escorted us out of the building 2 weeks later. So 2 days later. So we were given 2 weeks thinking that we had to scramble and, to work really hard at our jobs while we tried to relocate. And, it worked out. We we have all the time in the world. For the next 2 weeks to relocate to Boulder and really launch on our careers.
What would you guys, that's the route you went. What would you tell people who wanted to start out in this business based on your experience?
I would say to do exactly what you're doing now, and it sounds as simple as it is. Like all of us who are in media, we all work now for our own company in the same capacities pretty much that we did at Black Enterprise. We literally transferred our skills. If you're an accountant, if you are a juice maker, if you know how to, you have a little bit of a green thumb and you know how to grow what you grow, you don't have to tell me nothing, but you know, if you're doing anything, you know, if you're really a chef, you're into edibles, whatever you can do or you do now, do it in cannabis. The industry is wide open. It's really like no rule and regulation. So it's kind of like the Wild West in that regard. Like you really can do what you, there's rules and regulations, please, excuse me, don't be too rogue with that. But I'm talking about as far as your pursuits. Literally what you're doing right now, if that's your passion, do that in cannabis. Go home, get a domain name, secure an LLC or a corporation, and start. We literally pressed record on an iPhone, and that was the inception of the business. Just doing what we know how to do.
I just add, go to events, go to and become a part of local cannabis organizations, NORML, Students for Sensual Drug Policy, Cannabis Cultural Association, Women Grow, because when you get connected and you get actually inside, you get to know who all the players are, you get to know what's happening, and this is still illegal, right? So you need allies, and when you get a part of these organizations, you can find allies. You know who's lobbying, you know who's a lawyer, you know who can help you, you know, with patents and things like that. We have been very fortunate to have gone through Cannabis, so it put us in that room, and that room is definitely lacking people of color. We can go to these events and be like, okay girl, it's really just us. And it shouldn't be just us, because we have suffered greatly from this plant. So really going and finding out who's doing what, knowing who the players are, and getting allies in these bigger organizations who are working to change policy, working to make sure that as legalization comes across the board in communities like Bed-Stuy, like Crown Heights, tax revenue dollars are making sure that they're getting in our neighborhoods when these dispensaries come in. But if we're not in those rooms, then you get overlooked.
How difficult is it to try to get a license to own a dispensary? Because I've been hearing that that's really difficult to do. They're closing us out of that, and they close it out from getting licenses. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it's difficult, and we get a lot of questions about how do I open a dispensary. That's usually the first question, and I'm not here to discourage anybody from doing that, but just the reality of it is, it takes a lot of capital. There's a lot of red tape. It's ever changing. I mean, the stresses. We personally, one of our mentors is a dispensary owner, the first Black dispensary owner, and every day you're hearing about the stresses, the regulations, the new this and new that you have to now take on this to sell that. I mean, it really, really is a lot. So if you're going into it with a no labor, no toil, sentimentality, dispensary owning, it might be a thing you want to take a second look at.
It was always interesting to me. I started talking to these guys about this. I covered the cannabis industry for Black Enterprise, and from the investment side of it, and you guys would tell me how it was so interesting how people of color, particularly women of color, were getting shut out of this. So talk a little bit about that. Let's, I guess, back it up one step. Tell everybody what Estrohaze is.
Oh yeah. So Estrohaze, right, is a multimedia company that highlights and profiles women of color, the businesses and lifestyles of women of color and multicultural communities in the cannabis industry. So we have a podcast where we interview investors and people who are working in the space. They provide information about what they do, how they do it, why they do it. We have, Savannah is our Chief Content Officer. She works with our amazing, amazing contributors that provide everything from reviews, how-tos, events that are happening, around the globe. And then we do face-to-face events. So we go out and we put together different cannabis-themed events in different communities just to have that in-person touch and build from there.
Estrohaze.com. Estrohaze.com.
And on social.
And on social, Estrohaze. So talk a little bit about the numbers, because we were talking, you said people come to you with questions about dispensaries all the time, and Bill was saying how popular that is. Talk to us about initial investments, where you got that money from, and what are some resources for people looking for capital.
That's great. Like Sarita mentioned, our initial investment came from Cannabis Boulder. So a great resource is that there are many accelerators, 5 that I could even think of right now, accelerators out there, particularly looking for people who are interested in starting ancillary cannabis businesses. And some that even touch the plant. Ancillary cannabis businesses, meaning those businesses that don't actually handle the plant. So you aren't a grow, or you aren't necessarily a dispensary, but you're looking to open a business that's affiliated. Apply. Please don't hesitate to apply for an accelerator. Google, look for deadlines. You have Cannabis Boulder, you have Green Ventures,
Gateway.
You have Gateway, you have Monarch who's looking for women businesses right now. Their deadline is coming up. Apply, because what they're doing is literally giving you your seed funding. They're giving you your startup capital for your business. So not only are they doing that, they're connecting you with advisors. They're connecting you with your attorneys potentially. You're advising you on accountants. They're literally setting you up with your baseline of your business, and you just kind of soar from there.
Can you say those names again very briefly? I know that's what people were really...
Yes. We are graduates of Cannabis Boulder, shout out to Patrick, Cannabis Boulder in Boulder, Colorado. There's Green Ventures. There is Monarch, that's right here in New York. It's in New York.
Gateway.
Gateway, yeah. So apply. It's really, I mean, we did it within a week, stressful week, but we got it done. And it really changed the trajectory of our careers and our lives. So if you don't necessarily have access to the funding now, but you have a big idea that's going to take a little capital to jumpstart your business, don't be discouraged, because the funding is out there. The funding is definitely